More to come on the Jack Eigen Show. The temperature right now, 44 degrees. This is WMAQ News, prepared by the NBC Newsroom in Chicago. Jerry Mitchell reporting. Burglars reportedly took $15,000 to $20,000 in cash from the home of John Constantopoulos at 8600 South Karloff tonight. He told police that he found that his front door had been pried open during his absence on Friday evening. Dr. Martin Luther King in Chicago for an anti-Vietnam War demonstration in the Loop tomorrow said that civil rights demonstrations will once again be staged in the all-white suburb of Cicero this summer. Overseas, Red China's Premier Zhou Enlai has made it plain that his defense minister, Lian Piao, is leading the 2.5 million man Liberation Army. The Army Supreme Commander, Party Chairman Mao Zedong, is apparently the leader in name only. Zhou made the statement at a meeting of revolutionary workers in Peking. The 10,000 workers also declared that Mao has triumphed in Red China, but that his enemies are still alive and will take a long time to stamp them out. Officials at Kodiak, Alaska, decided not to land a Russian skipper Friday in order to avoid any possible incidents. A crowd of some 500 gathered at the Kodiak harbor as the skipper anchored the boat outside the harbor. He and his first mate are to be arraigned in Anchorage on Saturday on charges of violating U.S. fishing waters. Their trawler was seized by the Coast Guard off Alaska on Wednesday. The communists are continuing their campaign of intensified mortar barrages against American troops in South Vietnam. 17 U.S. Marines have been killed, another 98 wounded in a series of engagements near the demilitarized zone. Enemy losses were listed as at least 54 dead. Other clashes in War Zone C and in the central lowlands killed 6 Americans, wounding 25 others. In the air war, U.S. warplanes struck a truck convoy near Dien Bien Phu and at cargo boats 11 miles south of Haiphong, North Vietnam's big port city. In the south, giant B-52 staged 4 raids against enemy troop positions. Pope Paul has expressed concern about what he calls indications of conflict, hate, and danger in the Far East. The Pope made the comments following a Good Friday procession in Rome. Well, the first oil from the crippled tanker Torrey Canyon has washed ashore at a section of England known as Lizard. The Coast Guard said there's quite a bit of oil on the beach. It looks as though it'll be there for a while. There'll be more by the time the tide has finished coming in. An oil slick 30 miles long, 10 miles wide was left when the tanker ran aground on a reef off southwest England after it began to leak. In sports, UCLA and Dayton have won their semifinal round games in the NCAA basketball tourney at Louisville. UCLA whipped Houston 73-58, while Dayton beat North Carolina 76-62. Hal Greer's 33 points and Wilt Chamberlain's 19 assists enabled Philadelphia to beat Cincinnati 121-106 and take a 2-1 lead in their National Basketball Association playoff series. In exhibition baseball, Pittsburgh won Baltimore 0, Minnesota 6, New York Yankees 5. Weather picture is a good one for the Chicago area if you don't mind a little rain. The temperatures will be higher. The low tonight around 40 and tomorrow, Saturday, about 70 degrees. We will encounter, they say, some cloudiness and the chance of some thunder showers in the morning and in the afternoon. Saturday night, showers likely, low in the 40s. Sunday, mostly cloudy and mild. A chance of showers possibly for the Easter parade. Jerry Mitchell reporting for NBC News on WMAQ Chicago. This is WMAQ. The time is 12:05. Here's Jack Eigen.
And we're back here in our studio on the 19th floor of the Merchandise Mart. And that was Jerry Mitchell, who brought you the latest news compiled and edited in the WMAQ Chicago NBC newsroom. And I might add at this time that Mrs. Jerry Mitchell is the president of our North Side fan club. And they have a meeting every month. They meet in a phone booth. And they have plenty of room if you want to become a member in the booth. But she does send out my picture and my autograph, which is written for me by Jerry. And it's nice to know that he is aboard tonight. In the room we have Ruth Ascott, who is the president of the Light Soap Company, which is located in Aurora. And this is a different kind of soap, I am told, and she is the president. And being with a company like this, I'm sure she's cleaning up. And it's, hey, that's a funny joke, isn't it? It's a non-sudsing cleansing additive, that's what it is, that is used for several diversified household chores. And Mrs. Ascott joined the firm in 1934 as a secretary. She left and opened a place across the street. No, she left the firm in 1940 when she married. And she then rejoined the company in 1956 when she got bored. And in 1963, she purchased the controlling interest of the Light Soap Company and became president. And she's here with her husband, Bob Ascott, who's a sales coordinator for the Acme Fast Freight. And with them is Jim Cross, who's the PR man. And everybody knows what that is, the poor relation. It's nice to know that Jim is here. And also, Ralph Powell is here. Ralph is a stockbroker for Glaw, Forgan, William R. Stat Stocks. It's all one, right? Is that right? And he is the president of the Uptown Toastmasters Club. This is a very interesting club. He's here with Jack Lewin, who is the editor of the Building Specialties magazine, and he is a member and past president of the Toastmasters Club. And the club is an international organization comprised of business and professional men who are interested in becoming more proficient in public speaking and communicating with fellow employees. And they are celebrating their 15th anniversary this year. And, you know, a lot of people can do talking in a little office or something, but when it comes to getting in front of any type of an audience, whether it's 2, 4, 1,000, 2,000, they find it tough to communicate. And as much as you people think that I would be very good as a speaker because I can sit here and talk, I am the worst. I could not walk up on a stage and really communicate. I can do it here because I'm on the air. Psychologically, I don't know, that's the way I am. But I have been asked many times, will I make appearances at the B'nai B'rith organization or the some Christian organization. They want me to go up and speak. And I said, well, what am I going to talk about? They said, well, what do you do on the air? Well, this would not go in an auditorium. It's okay for radio because people listen every night and they just wonder, what is he going to say tonight or what is he going to talk about? But the only way I could do that is if I went up on the stage and they asked me questions. I could answer a question, but I couldn't speak on any specified subject long enough to make me interesting. And this is pretty much an art, something you've got to learn. There are many who couldn't do what I'm doing right here, and yet you put them on a stage, and they are dynamite. They're great. Georgie Jessel is one. You can call a fellow like Jessel for anything, be it a wake, a funeral, a confirmation. He's got something to say. Well, I tell you what it really is. It's all the same speech. It is with him, but he just changes a few things. That's what they call him up for a big dress manufacturing thing. He'll do the same speech for what he did last night about insurance. He'll just switch it around. And that's my word on it. But he makes a pile of money. They call it after dinner speaking, they call it, you know. Jessel, the Herb Schreiner, is another guy who is very good at this. Of course, you have many politicians who are gifted. Senator Dirksen, you can bring him anywhere, and he'll talk about anything. He can talk about, just say talk about radio, and he'll be tremendous. He'll talk. There are people who are gifted. They have this gift of gab that they can do that. So, and there are many people who can learn how to do it. You can learn how to do it. So this sounds like it should be an interesting organization, the Uptown Toastmasters Club. We'll be talking with them a little while. And, of course, Ruth Ascott. But we have a birthday here tonight. Colleen Say. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Colleen is celebrating her birthday, and she's from Peoria Heights. And there are many who have probably been trying to get her on the phone back home in Peoria to wish her a happy birthday, not knowing that she's in Chicago So those of you who have, planned on buying her gifts, I should be home all day Monday from 9 on, and she'll be happy to accept your gift Monday. It will mean the same to her as if she got it like today. We do want to wish her a happy birthday. Colleen is 21 again. A very happy birthday, and she's here with her husband, who is the supervisor for Pabst Brewing Company, and you all know Pabst. They make yeast, and it's nice to see him here relaxing. And Pabst is a very well-known company. They make the beer, and it's a very highly competitive business today. Beer. There's so many. Every time you turn on the radio, there's some other beer they're better than the other beer. And all I know is when I have a good sandwich, give me a cold bottle of any beer. And you know what makes beer? Coldness. Bring a cold bottle of beer out, and it's good. Unless, there's something really wrong with the beer. And there's something. How do I order beer when I go in a restaurant?
Give me a bottle of the coldest beer.
That's exactly what I order. Say anything, I don't care what I said. The coldest beer you got, bring it out. And I feel if it's a beer that they sell in America, what are they going to give me? Something that a horse want to get rid of, So it's going to be good. If it's beer, it's going to be beer. That's all. It's cold. They wouldn't allow it out. The Drug Act, the Food Act, would they allow it out if it's going to make me sick? But, of course, it's according to taste. If you're a beer drinker, where you drink a great deal of beer, then you know taste. For example, I like to drink Scotch. And I have my particular brand. If they bring something else, I can tell immediately, because the Scotch I like is very light. I don't like a heavy Scotch. Other people like heavy Scotches. And once in a while, I'll want an imported beer. And I have a favorite in imported beers. But most times when I go in a restaurant, and there is nothing in the world, nothing as refreshing as a cold bottle of beer. Believe me, at the right time, huh? And what? Oh, yeah, but you can't get it. You get a turkey leg with some potato salad, a good big turkey leg, good fresh, and a bottle of beer. This is better than going out with Natalie Wood. Take my word for it. It's much, much better and much more satisfaction all the way around. But another thing that I was thinking of, in New York, all delicatessens, when I say all, I would say that 9 out of 10 delicatessens do not serve whiskey, but they all serve beer, either on tap or bottle. And that's the best time to drink beer, when you're eating a delicatessen-type sandwich, And they can buy that license in New York. Restaurants can buy a beer license, which means they can sell beer, but they cannot sell whiskey or even wine, but they can sell beer, and I forgot what they charge a year. And of course, there are restaurants that buy the beer and liquor license. But there isn't a delicatessen in New York that you go to that you cannot order a bottle of beer, and they sell a great deal of beer, because that's the best time to drink beer, with delicatessen. And in Chicago, I've yet to get a bottle of beer in a delicatessen. I'm not sure, of course they have it, but rare. Where did you find one? Oh, they don't. I thought you said they had it. But even the biggest delicatessens, and you feel now, the way I understand it, that you cannot get a license in Illinois strictly for beer. If you get a license, it's what they call an all-round liquor license. It's liquor, beer, and all. But this is a suggestion, if Governor Kerner is listening, why they do not. They're always looking for new ways to make money. And for a state, as long as they allow liquor in a state, and most delicatessens cannot afford both a liquor license and a beer license, why don't they make the law here in Chicago or in Illinois, where you can purchase only a beer license, where you can only sell beer, not liquor, not wine, but beer. And I bet every delicatessen in Chicago would get this type of a license, because it's probably half the amount or whatever it is of a regular liquor license. But it is so important that they should have that, a delicatessen, either on tap or in a bottle. I just gave the beer industry a big plug, you know. Now, if they were smart, if the beer guys were smart, they would get together and start lobbying out there in Springfield and get themselves where they can only have a license, because not only in New York, but in California, almost every delicatessen sells beer, not liquor, but they get beer. In many states, but for some reason they do not have it in Illinois. And I've just given you something for nothing there in Illinois, where you can probably pick up a few $1 million a year in taxes from beer by allowing them. It's not legalized gambling. You're not doing anything that you haven't been doing. You're selling whiskey. Sell beer. And places that cannot afford a liquor license. And I wonder if the reason for it is that many places who have liquor license would resent it. You know, they'd say, well, what do you mean? That means that's our competition. You can go in there and buy a bottle of beer, and they won't come in here, but that's, who cares who resents things? Everybody likes to make a living, you know? It's always something. I've been on a kick here for years now that they should have more one-way streets here in Chicago than they have. Because I remember years ago they said in Manhattan, are you kidding, Broadway? Famous Broadway, a one-way street? It's impossible. Broadway is now one way. Broadway is one way. 6th Avenue is one way. And Madison Avenue is one way. And not that it's helped the traffic congestion too much in New York, but it's helped them a little bit anyway. But in New York, I've been on a campaign that they should have State Street. It should be one way. So the big argument was, we interviewed some politicians. What about, they complain though, the owners, the fellows who own the department stores. Now to me, that's the silliest thing in the world, because you can't park downtown anyway. So if you wanted to go to Marshall Field, you're not going to go to Marshall Field because it's one way. So what if you got up the opposite side of the street? So you know where Marshall Field is. But there's always a fight. There's always somebody, you know, somebody working for a company's got to show that he worked that week. You know, there's fighting. So if I were like in a driver's seat, I would make State Street one way, Michigan Avenue one way, make them all Wabash one way, all one-way streets, up and down, and you'd be amazed how that would help and ease up the traffic congestion we have. We really have it. And so like they have all over the country, it's not only Chicago, but all over. But why not have one-way streets where you know you can go right across, go straight down instead of worrying. For example, right around the corner here, what is this street? Kinsey. On Kinsey between LaSalle and what's the street after LaSalle? LaSalle? Clark. No, and the street down further. What's that? Huh? No. Here's Kinsey. Here's LaSalle. What's the one down? It's not Wells. Well, no, that's the one up for it. Anyway, you know where I'm talking about, where they have the big ice boxes, the cooling things there, big storage places, you know? That's on Kinsey between where? What am I asking him? He just found out where the near north side was. He's been here for 60 years now. You know where they have the big storage places right on? Going to have the big storage, cold storage places, you know? So how they have all these trucks, get this, all the trucks are out this way because they're backed in storage. And what do you think they got over here? Cars parked. They allow parking. Now, can you imagine the other cars trying to come down? So if you happen to be unlucky and you're going down LaSalle Street or down Clark Street and you make a turn on Kinsey, there's a truck that keeps you, and then it's lined up all the way around. And you'd think some smart guy would say, don't allow parking on the street, so anytime a car turns, regardless of whether the truck's out there, cars will be able to get through. But no, they got cars parked here, and the truck is out here, so here's the space you have, like 3 inches. So if there's a truck there and a car here, you're backed up all the way around 4 blocks. Because the guy made a mistake, he turned. Once he turns, he can't, because the guy behind him, so he can't back up. And there's a guy behind him, you know. Those are a few things I want to do when I run for mayor. In what I said, I'm going to run 19, not this election, because I don't want to, you know, compete with Dick Gregory. One minority group's enough in the race, you know what I mean? But next time, how long is the mayor in for office? 4 years or 6? 4 years. There are now, this is 1967. In 1971, I'm going to run for mayor. This time I can announce it now, it'll still be on radio, but 1971 I'm going to run, and I'll probably be running up against Tom Dugin. Dugin, isn't that his name? Dugin. We have a message from Jimmy Wong's.
Measured by the Chinese calendar year, 4665, 20 years is just a drop of time. However, measured in the lifetime of a business, well, 20 years becomes a venerable period of time. For over 20 years, Jimmy Wong has built and nourished his restaurant business into a successful venture of national reputation. Jimmy's mouth-watering appetizers and exotic Cantonese dishes are a delight to the family dinners, the diners as well as the gourmets. Celebrate and come to Jimmy Wong's. You'll find people there from all walks of life. They've enjoyed Jimmy Wong's excellent cuisine and make dining at his restaurants a must when in Chicago. Jimmy's concern about the comfort and pleasure of his guests demands a constant program of remodeling and improving the interior of his restaurants. New and large private rooms have been added to his convenient Wabash Avenue restaurant. Additional private rooms for parties and business meetings at the Peterson restaurant have been remodeled and refurbished, accommodating parties from 20 to 300. Convenient free parking facilities at the Peterson Avenue restaurant add convenience to the guests. For dining or party reservations, call 805-5522. Jack?
That's Jimmy Wong's if you like Cantonese food. And our message from Paramount Pictures.
At last,
Like now, man.
the motion picture that will do as much for mothers as Moby Dick did for whales. Oh, Dad.
Poor Dad.
Mama's hanging in the closet, and I'm feeling so sad. It's all about a typical, everyday American family consisting of
A mother.
2 man-eating piranha fish, several Venus flytrap plants,
Her 25-year-old baby.
Building Specialties magazine and is a member and past president of the Toastmasters Club. Why don't we talk to the past president first and sort of give us a rundown on how the Toastmasters Club was founded and the reason, all that sort of thing, if you will.
Toastmasters was founded in 1924 by Dr. Ralph Smedley, and he was a YMCA secretary at the time. And in those days, he recognized the need for people to be able to communicate with others is a very powerful need, and it's been accentuated in the last 20 years with the rapid expansion of industry, which means that supervisory people have had to staff up and become sharper in their communications with fellow employees and selling projects and so on. Actually, what we're talking about is salesmanship. Whether you're always selling something to somebody, you're trying to communicate with your employees, sell them an idea, sell your salesman on the idea of doing a better selling job. And that's what it's led to in recent years. And industry, finding this great need, have looked around for some means of perfecting motivation techniques and so on. Well, this is a self-help, do-it-yourself type of program that the Toastmasters has. And we get these people in, and we show them by example and by instruction. We have no professional instructors. We do this ourselves, and by actually getting up there and pounding the table and learning the techniques of effective speech, these people come along, and it's remarkable how they do achieve some degree of improvement, perfection at times, in a relatively short period of time. And to that extent, it's amazing to take a man who is in a laboratory, for instance, pretty well closeted. Suddenly he's faced with the opportunity of becoming a supervisor, shall we say. But he's a lab man, and he's had little exposure to public speaking, and he can't communicate very well. He's being held back from this promotion. Well, he wants to progress, and some kindly friend introduces him to Toastmasters, and he comes along, and I'm speaking of a specific example in our club. A year ago, this man was kind of a mealy-mouthed individual, pretty weak speaker. And in a year's time, while he has not achieved perfection, it's interesting to note how he has progressed. He hasn't got that top job yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if the next time around when the opening occurs, he'd be a very good candidate. So this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Ralph Powell, why do you think it's so hard for people to communicate with others? People stop listening or what?
You mean from a speaker standpoint?
Just merely conversation. Let's just take conversation. Why people don't seem to listen anymore? They listen, but they don't hear. What do you think has happened to us?
People are too concerned about themselves. It takes a good listener to be a good speaker. A person has to be able to listen very well in order to be a good speaker and speak out to other people. I think the main problem in becoming a good speaker is experience. Not enough of us, particularly people that have jobs where they don't get an opportunity, have not gotten out and tried to speak in front of groups. They do it occasionally, and they find themselves sadly lacking. So this is the heart of Toastmasters, to give these people experience in an environment of constructive criticism. So when they do get out in an organization or some other area where they're speaking, they can effectively express themselves and get their communications and ideas across.
We'll be right back. Right now, we do have a message from Yesteryear Restaurant in Kankakee.
For a truly great restaurant that appeals to everyone, you'll find just such a treasure at Yesteryear. The fabulous restaurant operated by Marvin Hammock and Ray Schimmel at Harrison on the River in Kankakee. Lunch at here can be a delightful adventure when you select from Yesteryear's appetizing buffet board. The dinner menu offers such succulent items as charcoal broiled steaks, chicken baked in sherry, hickory smoked hams, and such extras as hot rum rolls, German coffee cooking, and homemade apple butter. Choose any one of 21 mouth-watering desserts. Once a private home designed by Chicago's famous Frank Lloyd Wright, Yesteryear has designed 9 guest apartments specifically luxurious for their clientele. River-quiet setting amid beautiful accommodations, fine food and beverages. So, plan your next dining adventure at Yesteryear, located just 1 block east of Route 54 in Kankakee. Call Wells 93131 for reservations. The area code 815, so the number would be 815-939-3131. Yesteryear's open every day, 11:30 a.m. till 8:30 p.m. Saturday night until 9 p.m. Sundays and holidays from noon till 7 p.m. Jack?
That's Yesteryear Restaurant in Kankakee, and our Magicist, a very beautiful name in rugs and draperies.
Now for sale at Magicist. Good values in good quality used rugs. Priced at $39 and up. 9x12s and larger, room size and area rugs. All of these used rugs have been completely Magicist cleaned and reconditioned and will give you years of service. All sides are completely finished, no raw ends or edges. Many brand name carpets from leading mills in a choice of tweed mixtures, solid colors in most wanted shades and patterns. Come and see these fine buys at Magicist Sales Rooms, West, 800 South Cicero Avenue, North, 3255 West Fullerton, and South at 8533 South State. You know, you get S&H green stamps, too. And remember, Magicist honors all Midwest bank cards. See and hear Bishop Fulton J. Sheen on television every Sunday night at 6 o'clock. See your program listing for station and channel. Jack?
That's the message from Magicist, and now a station break.
You're listening to WMAQ, and this is Peter Nero reminding you it's the Chicago thing to do.
And we're back here with Ralph Powell, who is a stockbroker and president of the Uptown Toastmasters Club, and Jack Lewin, who's a past president and editor of the Building Specialties magazine. And Ralph Powell, I would know because I haven't been an office worker in many, many years, so I don't know. I didn't know it was that tough to communicate with employees. In other words, if you're a boss, you tell them what you expect, and shouldn't that be all the communication you need?
No, it's a little bit more than that. You have to explain completely what you're trying to get your ideas across. As an employer or as a key employee, you hold staff meetings or group meetings where you're instructing your employees, or even in the sales area, you're trying to get ideas across, and it becomes a major problem to effectively communicate to people. Speaking is certainly no challenge in itself, but to effectively communicate your ideas within a time limit and get the people to understand them and get them to do it is a real problem.
Would this take in organizing too? Organization?
I would say so, yes. Any type of a communication, you're trying to get across an idea to a group of people, you need improvement in the public speaking area.
You know, that's quite a talent. I've often said on the air, I have a great respect for businessmen, successful businessmen, because everybody just sees the finished product, you know. They buy it and that's it. They figure all the guy does is make a phone call and they send it over. But they are not aware of the organization, the organizing that's got to happen before the person can even buy that product, the bookwork that has to go through, the blue slips and the red slips and the green slips. And it takes quite a guy. I know if I went into business, I would probably be a wreck trying to figure out how to organize. I would be the type of guy who say, well, I can do this all myself. You sell it, you take the money, and you put it in the cash register. At the end of the month, you don't know where you're going. You don't know how much came in, what went out, who took what. But it's organization is the important thing, is it not, in business?
Even in Toastmasters clubs, we give people an opportunity to participate in administrative offices on a club level, which gives them experience and they can use in their job. How to administer the different jobs of secretary, treasurer, how to take responsibility, delegate, get things done. This is also experience that's gained in Toastmasters.
How to get things done, delegate. Do you have to be a tough guy to do that? I mean, can you be a little weak guy who yeses everybody and have a successful business?
I don't think so. You have to be able to ask other people to do things and get them to want to do what you're trying to have them accomplish for you.
I think, you know, you read about this every once in a while. I think in order to have a successful business, I don't know, that you've got to make everybody feel that he is a partner in your business. In other words, you just do not pay them a salary, but you say, look, you are my partner. If we do X amount of business, you will be getting so much money, you will be getting so much at the end of the year. If I make money, you're all going to make money, and make them all feel like each one of them are very important, instead of just the guy making $80 a week or $100 a week or $125. Make them feel that he can make more than that if things are good at the end of the year. But there are too many employers who do not get that across, I think, to employees. They just treat them like, you know, you're nothing, and I'm the boss, and it's the old joke where the guy says, so big deal, you're the boss over nothing, you know. But to make them feel that they're all something, that they all mean something to the organization, isn't that one of the tricks?
Definitely. They must be made to feel they're part of the team, that whatever decisions are made at the top, that they have some voice in it. Maybe their suggestions aren't always received and acted on, but at least they know that somebody else is listening to them. And when there's a group action done, they know that they've participated some way in this.
That's why there are many places, they tell me, that have what they call boxes, suggestions, where people, employees, drop in a suggestion about the business. And I remember some fellow told me some years ago that he would keep all the suggestions and have a meeting like once a month with all the employees and never make anyone feel that his suggestion was silly or dull. He would say, he would read them all and say, this has some merit, maybe we'll use this next year. We may talk about this next year or 6 months from now. And then, you know, in other words, everybody made a suggestion instead of saying, just brushing it aside, that every suggestion meant something, and we're going to put this aside and we'll hope to get to this, and if we can, you know, improve on it, we'll do that. But I don't think enough people do that, you know. What about your club? Do you have to join it or what?
Have to join it?
Yeah, the Toastmasters Club. How do you become a member of it?
You become a member at Uptown Toastmasters by attending at least 3 meetings and then being accepted by the membership and then paying your dues, and then you become a member. And then you're assigned on the speaking program, and you go through a series of 12 speeches. We have a speech manual. Each one's a little more difficult to do. You start out speaking about yourself.
Which is easy for me. I could do 2 hours on that.
Subsequent speeches are concerned with speech construction, gestures, using a little humor in your speeches. Each one's a little more difficult than the next one. So over a period of time, a person goes through a succession of speeches, which gives them all types of speech experience. And after that, he can go in some advanced programs. But this is the basic type of program. And the heart of the program is constructive criticism. The person making his speech, usually anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes, is evaluated by other members of the club, and he's told exactly what mistakes he's made, and more importantly, how he can improve on his speech and what ways he can make his speech a little bit better. So it's this heart of Toastmasters, I believe, is constructive criticism.
You know, I can understand constructive criticism there, what you're talking about. But I've often wondered about the word constructive criticism, or 2 words. But it's like a performer will get a letter from someone who has never been on the radio in his life, has never been in front of a camera, and he'll say, I have some constructive criticism for you. And you'd be amazed. Now you kind of wonder, how the hell is he going to give me constructive criticism when he's never been on the radio in his life? How does he know what it is to sit behind a mic or have a camera hit him right in the face, and he has given me constructive criticism? Do you think there is such a thing from someone who does not know your business at all?
I don't think that's constructive criticism. I think that's just criticism itself. If he hasn't gone through the same experience as you have, he certainly can't appreciate your problems. And just to criticize a person that he's doing something wrong, either as a speaker or something else, it's too easy. Anybody can criticize. But to sit down and tell a person how to do it better requires a little more thought and a little more effort. And a little more experience. Right.
See, people who write letters out there, that's what, I never thought about that until you just mentioned it. That's what you should do. When you write to any performer, be in TV, radio, motion pictures, whatever it is, don't ever say I have constructive criticism, because to me he's going to look down and see who wrote this. Was it Al Jolson? Was it, somebody? But if you have never been in the business, say I have a suggestion. Now the suggestion would be how you can enhance your show, what you can do to make it better, instead of saying what you did that you think is wrong. Because anybody who has a job on television or radio certainly does not sit down and say, tonight or today I'm going to do something wrong. They're going to do the best job they possibly can do in the best taste that they have within them, So there's nobody going to tell you how to do that. But a suggestion, if they ever said, I have a suggestion for you, then every performer would read that letter. But when they start off with, this is meant to be constructive immediately, without reading the rest of the letter, it's going to be a rap on something you did, and they don't know the reason for why you said it, what brought it on, or anything. They don't know what motivated what you said. All they know is what they heard, But if they would use the word suggestion, then they would get a lot of respect from the people they write to, really. You're a stockbroker.
Yes, sir.
The market's been actually kind of funny the last year or two. Is there? No, the reason I asked you, we're not going to talk about any specific stocks because you're not allowed to actually talk about it. But I'm kind of wondering whether even a stockbroker can tell you what makes something go up and what makes it go down. When you read the Dow Jones and it says the market went up 8 points, and then you read about a stock that you have on the next page which says it's been doing so well that they're going to incorporate and they're going to buy Australia next year, and the stock went down 8 points that day. You kind of wonder, how does anybody know? Can anybody be an authority on the stock market?
It's almost impossible to predict the stock market on a day-to-day basis. It's subject to so many fluctuations. There's so many outside factors affecting the market. As an example, if the president should take ill, that would have a short-term effect on the market immediately when it opens up Monday morning. Such other factors are unpredictable. Longer term, we see the market going up because of the economy, generally because we have the strongest economy in the world. But on a short-term basis, it's almost, and I would say it is impossible to predict the market from day to day.
Isn't it amazing? And I like the stock market, and as I've often said, the only investment that we have in our family is in the stock market, which I know very little about. That's why I go along strictly with what they call the blue chips. But it kind of frightens you, though, that if the president has a cold and he is rushed to the hospital probably strictly for a penicillin shot or something like that, the market will go down. Doesn't that sound dangerous because of one man in a great country like America, that this can make a stock market go down?
It's actually part of the confidence. The public has confidence in the administration and continuity, but anytime you get a condition where things are uncertain, the stock market fluctuates wildly. As an example, when President Kennedy was assassinated, the market dropped dramatically, about 24 points, and had to close the exchange down early to keep it from going down further. But it bounced back the next Tuesday when the market opened up. People realized that things weren't as bad as they thought they were.
Yeah, but do you realize what happened between the time that it went down and bounced back, what it has done to millions of people, the worry that they went through, and many who have had heart conditions may have dropped dead because, no, I'm not, it sounds like I'm being facetious, but it's the truth, that people who worried for 48 hours, whatever it was, who wound up in hospitals and died because of that market going way down. They figure the life savings are going and they're going to be beggars. You know, psychologically, it's only 3 or 4 days to us, but to people who have their life savings in one particular stock or two particular stocks or two different stocks and are sick people, and they depend upon that dividend and the stock. You know what it can do to them mentally and every other way?
It depends on the quality of security you're holding. In sharp drops like that, if you're in on speculations or on trading accounts, that's true. It can affect your health. But if you're a longer-term investor investing in quality blue chips, there's really nothing to fear on these short-term swings. The market's going to fluctuate. You can guarantee that from day to day. It's going to go up one day, it's going to go down the next day.
Do you think that it would be a good idea if there was a law to do away with all margin buying? That the only way you can buy something is if you've got the money to pay for it?
The margin requirements have moved up since many, many years ago. I suppose you're thinking of 1929, when we had the crash, and a lot of stocks were bought on margin at that time. No, I think margin has its place, but I think it should be controlled like it is now, as much as it can be. But it has its good uses and its bad uses, too. It can be used to excess. When it's used to excess, it causes fluctuations in the market.
What about yourself as a stockbroker? When I imagine you delve into stocks, are you your own broker, or do you go elsewhere for advice?
No, I take my own advice.
Well, you know what they say about a doctor who does that? He has a fool for a patient. That's the truth. Lawyers, if they have a problem, they will hire another lawyer. If a doctor doesn't feel well, he won't try to diagnose his own problem. He'll call in another doctor. But I guess it is different when you're a stockbroker and insurance. But I've often been of the opinion that if you do not have a good stockbroker, you're in a lot of trouble, because too many people depend on their stockbrokers, their advice. And what does a stockbroker know? How much more does if he knew so much, would he be a stockbroker? He wouldn't have to work. If he'd be home just making investments and picking up $10,000 a day just by using a phone. So how much more can he know? He knows as much as you know. The only thing is he can warn you not to, overload yourself or something like that. But he can't, as you say, he can't tell you whether the market's going to go up or down. How would he know?
I think a stockbroker is important because he has an organization in back of him. Member firms in the New York Stock Exchange usually have extensive research departments, and they have information as to stock trends in companies and in industries.
Can't you get that same thing from the financial pages of your newspaper, your Tribune, or other papers, who will tell you what the companies are doing, what they made, what they intend to do, and all that sort of thing?
The information you see in the financial newspapers and even in the Wall Street Journal.
I'm not bringing you down. I'm making an interview because I'm all for stockbrokers. I'm just making an interview, by the way.
The information you get in the financial pages and in the Wall Street Journal is at least one day late. The rest of the financial community has this over the ticker tape system. The short-term news, as far as the longer-term trends, it's usually released much later in the newspapers before the people who have gone out to a company. As an example, an analyst goes out to a company, talks to the management, he gets the impressions and the estimates of earnings, what the company's doing, what the industry's doing. He reports this information to his firm. They write up research reports. Later on, this might get into the newspapers, but it might be a long period of time between when the analyst finds the information out and when it's finally reported.
You think
Not that it isn't available to the public, but it takes a while for newspapers to pick up these things, too.
You think it would be that long for the Wall Street Journal to get it?
It's at least a day for the Wall Street Journal
Is that
before
right?
Yes.
I think that's one of the great newspapers, the Wall Street, for everything. Everything. You can tell the shape of the world by reading the Wall Street Journal. Is that right?
Yes. This is the whole concept of investing in the stock market. You're at the pinnacle, really, of the whole economic system. Because they're watching these companies, the businesses, and the trends. And the Wall Street Journal certainly does a good reporting job on this.
You have that stuff, AT&T, Zenith, and the regular blue chip type thing?
You mean in my own portfolio?
Yeah. You have that yourself?
Yeah, everybody should have some blue chips in their portfolio.
You know,
Every person's different. You cannot say one person should hold AT&T and one should hold Zenith. You've got to look at his own financial position, his own investment objective.
But if you're not too rich, but you can afford to buy stock, wouldn't it be smart to buy the blue chips?
It's certainly smart to buy the quality companies. The question is, what are the blue chips? The blue chips change. Some blue chips are become a little bit tarnished.
When did AT&T change? I remember years ago, as we've said it many times on the air, where people used to say to me, "What are you doing with AT&T? It's a widow stock." So far, we've gotten 3 widows for 1. You know? Have they called that a widow stock for many, many years?
That's correct. It's the most widely held stock in the United States.
That's right.
AT&T.
There's an old Jewish expression, you know, if you want a little bit of security in life, you know, and want to feel that you belong, have what you call a knippel. They call it a knippel in Jewish. That means have a certain amount of stock or money that you know is almost like gold. That's yours, you know. Nothing is going to happen to it. If that happens to that, then the world, something's going to happen to the world, you know. And then if you want to play around with the stock market, you use the money that if you do lose it, it won't mean anything to you. You'll worry for about 2 hours. Well, but have that knippel, have that stuff put away in your vault or wherever you keep it, and know that regardless of what happens, you've got X amount of dollars. You are worth so much money. Everything else is gravy after that.
This is the triangle concept in investing. That is, thinking of a triangle with the largest part being on the bottom, the greatest amount of your dollars are in solid types of investments. And as you move up, the smaller amounts then are in some maybe medium type of investments that are a little more speculative, and then maybe at the very smallest part, the smallest number of dollars your portfolio are in more highly speculative type securities. But your greatest base is in quality type investments.
You know, the only thing a lot of things I don't understand, but one of the things I don't understand is certain stock that got a lot of talk some months ago, and many people invested in the stock. When I say many, very important people, too, and it went right off the market. Went right off completely. And we had the stock, too, by the way. Went right off, and you kind of wonder, how is this possible for a good, solid stock that was highly recommended, written up beautifully, just disappear right off the market? Does that make you wonder how this can happen?
Obviously, there's some errors in reporting and financial condition. I think that was the heart of it. I know the case you're talking about. I certainly won't mention the name.
But would the stock I'm talking about, wouldn't you think that this would have been good, the publicity it had gotten, the right
Yes,
time?
the right up to potential. But obviously, there was some grave mistakes made in financial reporting. In other words, if somebody wants to sit down and deceive somebody else, they can certainly do it and cover it up for a small period of time. Eventually, it will be discovered by your regulatory agencies, such as the Securities Exchange Commission, the National Association of Security Dealers, and New York Stock Exchange. They'll eventually uncover this through their reporting requirements. But if a man wants to sit down on a short-term basis, this sometimes can happen.
How about you, Jack Lewin? Are you a stockman? Do you get into that at all?
I get into it on a small scale.
You mean you only got like 10,000 shares of AT&T, things like that?
Not exactly. I'm kind of interested in convertible bonds of the moment, but that bears more investigation. Besides, our stockbroker friend here tells us that they're not readily available. I presume you heard about the big play that convertible bonds was given the other day by an author of a book and so on. And Ralph Powell tells me there's a lot of activity in this office as regards curiosity concerning convertible bonds. But it's worth investigating. I'm more concerned with business management, such as you were a moment or two ago.
What is this magazine you have, Building Specialties magazine? What kind of magazine is it?
We're in the field of improving existing homes. We don't build new homes. We improve the existing home. And when a family gets too large for its present quarters and so on, we'll do a remodeling job. I won't personally, but the people in our field will. And it's a management-type magazine concerning marketing costs, salesmanship particularly. How do you sell the job and keep the customer happy? Things of that kind. Of course, it all bears on the economy of the nation.
Homes you're talking about.
Homes.
What do you think of the condominiums? Are you a big fan of this, or do you think it's a fad, or how do you feel about it?
Well, that's the old row housing. That's really not in our field, but that's row housing from way back east.
What do you call that? What do you call it?
Row housing. You're from the east. You know what that is.
Row housing. No,
Sure. R-O-W.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, that's a row of houses, one right after the other, connected. One doorway after the other, right down the block. And that's a very economical way of living and owning your own property with a minimum amount of work, I presume. But there are grave fears as regards this type of housing. Again, I say I'm not the authority in that field. We're interested in improving them.
But you sure have opinions outside of your own field, have you? I mean, you kind of want to know what's happening in the world, and when something like condominiums come along, you want to find out what this is and whether you should delve into it or become part of this big money-making thing.
Oh, the last statement you made is quite interesting. Yes, if I were in that area, I think it's a great promotion. I'm sure a lot of people are very happy with their condominiums, with row housing, townhouses, and so on. But there are grave thoughts that are coming to light with regard to that type of housing these days. You know, that's not conventional housing. It may give the appearance of being conventional type housing, but it isn't. The bankers are financing them, so I presume there's a word of encouragement there. But there are grave fears, and I don't want to use ugly words regarding it because I'm sure there are some merits to them. Only time will tell whether the merits are enduring or not.
That's what you just said, I think, is the key to it all, that they don't know yet. Time will tell. And they're building all these big condominiums right in the city, as you know. And we're all ready to take one. In fact, we practically signed, and I changed my mind. Because I kind of felt funny. Someone says, what are you going to say? I own my own home. Where is it? On the 3rd floor. You own your own home on the 3rd floor, you know. So I figure if I ever buy a home, I want to buy it out in Highland Park or Evanston where it's on the ground. This belongs to me. This is my ground, my piece of ground. But you kind of wonder, you own something on the 20th floor of a building, and as I said, time will tell whether or not these things are great. They're certainly beautiful. They make them very beautiful and very expensive, too. But I always figured that if I ever wanted to own a home, which I'm not ready to do because I don't know how to put a light in a socket. If I owned a home, if the light went out, I'd have to call somewhere downtown and come and put a bulb in. You've got to be a pretty handy guy to be able to do these things. But still, if I owned one, I'd want it right on the ground, on a piece of property. This is mine, not up there on the 8th floor next to somebody else, but this is mine right here. All these rooms, it all belongs to me. This ground, and I want it. If I want to get rid of the home, or if one day they want to build a highway through it, they got to buy this from me, this property right here, and go right through it. You own something. This is yours. This is your little property, you know. What do you own up there? You own air. They're not going to go highway through there, up there, at any time.
Might sell air right.
You know. We have a message from Bat's Restaurant, B-A-T-T-S, for that tasty food. Bat's.
Bat's Restaurant on 22nd Street, just east of Michigan Avenue, has become one of the most popular dining places in the city. Nate and Sam take pride in their skill. They follow old country recipes handed down in the Bat family for generations. But the modern way these dishes are served has made Bat's popular at all meal times. Every dinner begins with a Lazy Susan appetizer tray, loaded with such tasty tidbits as gefilte fish, kishki, chopped liver, and marinated herring. Choose from a menu featuring beef or chicken in the pot with matzo ball dumplings, sweet and sour meatballs, a variety of blintzes, prime steaks or fresh Lake Superior whitefish. Yes, you too can learn why thousands of returning customers say, next to home, it's Bat's. That's Bat's Restaurant on 22nd Street, just east of Michigan Avenue. 5 minutes from the Loop. Turn off the outer drive at 23rd Street. Doorman will park your car. Remember, Bats is open Sunday through Friday, closed Saturday at 4 p.m. Jack?
That's it. That's Bats Restaurant, B-A-T-T-S. And you meet Sam and Nate, two very excellent, nice hosts. And now Bond Rambler, Chicagoland's largest Rambler dealer, located at 2223 North Cicero Avenue, where you always get the best deal on a brand new Rambler.
Used car buyers, don't leave any used car lot with a used car that leaves a lot to be desired. Don't settle for less than a bondified, safe ride used car from Bond Rambler, improved, approved, and proven perfect at 2223 North Cicero Avenue. Every Bond Rambler used car gets a thorough chassis checkup. The bugs are taken out, new parts put in. Every Bond Rambler used car is tightened up, tuned up, and shined up to Bond Rambler's rigid standards of safety and performance before it can earn the bondified, safe ride, better value Bond Rambler sticker. At 2223 North Cicero Avenue, Bond Rambler only sells the better cars at prices you can easily afford. Chevrolets, Pontiacs, Plymouths, Chryslers, Volkswagens, Buicks, Fords, Cadillacs, Mercurys. At Bond Rambler, you'll see them all. And remember this, no matter which car you choose, the bondified Safe Ride sticker is the badge of excellence that makes any car, any used car, a better value at Bond Rambler. That's 2223 North Cicero Avenue. Bond Rambler will be open Easter Sunday. Jack?
That's Bond Rambler. And now the General Finance and Loan Company. We were talking about money a little while ago. If you need from $25 to $5,000, call Friendly Bob Adams at General Finance and Loan Company at Andover 3, 2020. General Finance has over 50 offices in the Chicagoland area. That number is Andover 3, 2020.
You probably know a lot of friendly people, but how many of them can show you how to cut your car payments in half, huh? Well, Friendly Bob Adams at General Finance Loan Company can. Now, if the balance in your car payments is down to, say, $1,000 or less, call Friendly Bob Adams, the loan by phone expert at Andover 3, 2020. Most always he'll be able to cut those car payments in half. No muss, no fuss. Bob will start all the arrangements. All you have to do is give him a phone call or stop by the office nearest you. Do it right now. Call Friendly Bob Adams at Andover 3, 2020. Cut those heavy monthly car payments down to size. That's Andover 3, 2020. Andover 3, 2020. Where you'll find Friendly Bob Adams standing by, ready to serve you. General Finance Loan Company, the home of Friendly Bob Adams, and there are 50 offices in the Chicagoland area. Open Monday and Friday evenings till 7:30. Remember, we don't call him Friendly Bob for nothing. There are also offices in Cicero and in Elgin. Jack?
That's Bob Adams at Andover 3, 2020, and now the Wagon Wheel.
Partner, if you crave prime food served in pleasing surroundings, well, the Penagos brothers invite you to visit their colorful Wagon Wheel restaurant at 400 North Wells Street, next door to the Merchandise Mart. Now, the Wagon Wheel is the home of the famous Steak Livingston, a huge aged sirloin or filet feast you'll long remember. So good, it's copyrighted. Other Wagon Wheel delights, all reasonably priced, include delicious ribs, chicken, chops, savory Italian dishes, and they're open for lunch and dinner, with doorman parking after 5 p.m. For reservations to the Wagon Wheel, the gateway to Old Town at 400 North Wells, call the Penagos brothers at Whitehall 4-8862. That's Whitehall 4-8862. Wonderful food plus lively piano bar entertainment each night with witty Bob Nolan at the Wagon Wheel Piano. Jack?
That's the Wagon Wheel. We have 5 minutes of news. We'll be back, and joining us will be Ruth Ascott, who is president of the Light Soap Company, the Light Soap Company Incorporated in Aurora, and you'll hear about a woman who took a bar of soap and made herself a pile of money. You'll probably want to know how she did it and how she went about it, how she organized